Hi, everyone. This is Nasia from Les Maisons Partners. And we've got Kristen.
Oh yeah, I'm like,
Hi,
yes,
yeah.
me, I'm here. The
so,
other
today we
ladies partner, yes.
so today we have a great session because we are going to be talking real estate investing for our first time investors. And I know a lot of you have asked us about how do I get into real estate investment? What should I do? How much money do I need? What do I need to do to get started? And so now we've got the expert that can answer some of these questions. So, Jessica, we are so happy to have you here. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do.
Yeah,
Well,
tell us a little bit stuff.
Expert, that's a lot, Nasia, but I'll do what I can here today. I'm Jessica Rowell. I'm principal and owner of Evolution Enterprises and Real Property Solutions Unlimited. We are based in the capital region of New York State, so in Albany, New York. And we're a vertically integrated, partner-owned real estate firm. We do acquisition, development, and management of properties. And underneath all of that is real estate investment, primarily off-market deals. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about my story and how to get other people into this.
Awesome.
This is great because a lot of people see listings and what we call on market. So listings, well, what we as realtors use to be able to find homes, but we also use our network and who we know and referrals in order to find these off market deals. And that's exactly what Jessica is talking about. So I want to get a little bit into, first of all, trying to figure out there's so much terminology in investing. Real estate investing is full of terminology. So if you could talk a little bit about the difference between something like a wholesaling versus buy and hold. And then if you actually want to flip, we see a lot of shows where people flip Boston, where they flip this on HGTV. Explain to us exactly what the differences are.
The difference is generally with a fix and flip project or deal, you're essentially, as the investor, you're going to be, you're going to acquire that property and then go about your process for renovating, rehabbing, and then selling. In a wholesale deal, and this took me a little while to kind of get the concept. It's tricky, and it's not something I think a lot of people hear about. And quite frankly, when I first heard about it, I was sort of like, is that legal? It just sounds very, sounds like another world from conventional real estate. But wholesaling, essentially, you identify generally with us, an off-market property and one that is below market value quite significantly. Usually it's a vacant home or a distressed home. A million reasons why the owner of that property might want to sell. So essentially you work with that, with the seller. You put in an offer and you get under contract on that property. And then you look for, or you already have, another investor or buyer who would be interested in having you assign the rights of that contract to them so that they are actually become the end buyer. And where you make your money as the wholesaler is the fee that you're able to add because the property is already so below value. You're able to add a fee that still leaves what they call meat on the bone for the investor, where it's still a great opportunity for them to get into, to fix and flip or hold as a property, as a rental, whatever the case may be. But essentially that is wholesaling. And that's sort of where I got my start. And I think it's where a lot of people who are looking to dip a toe in would find it easy to start because it doesn't require you to be the end buyer, which might require that you have more liquid or better credit or whatever the requirements would be to have funding or to have even investors working behind you. So that essentially is wholesaling. And you can wholesale really any kind of property. But I think it's important to know, I'm in New York State. I realize there are people listening from other regions. Definitely run this through an attorney. Make sure that the laws wherever you are and the land wherever you are do support wholesaling. But that's the difference.
So I know that's a big thing here in Atlanta.
Yeah. Would you advise somebody who is a first-time investor, if their first deal is wholesaling, do you think it might be a little bit trickier for them, or should they start somewhere else?
Well, sort of what I spoke to before. Not everyone is in a position to be a buyer right off the bat, even when you're buying property that's undervalued and maybe you can get a home for $10,000. It doesn't seem like a lot, but some people aren't even in the position to do that. The thing with wholesaling that I think is really helpful and great, that's why we continue to do it, is whether you're going to be the end buyer or not, you still have to understand the same elements that go into what a good deal is. You still have to, you're essentially, the way I look at it is, I'm kind of teeing up a deal that I would take advantage of if I wanted to be the end buyer in this case. You know what I mean?
You still have to run those numbers, look at ARV and all of that.
Exactly.
Market it to somebody. Yeah.
So that's why I like it as a place for people to start, because it kind of helps you build that muscle and hone those skills that you'll use yourself as an investor, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think if you could also expound, because this is one of the things we work with a lot of investors. And one of the things that we find with first-time investors is that we as realtors are your partners, but we do not run your numbers. You run your own numbers, because you need to know what value you're looking for, what your end goal is. So if you can talk a little bit about that, because I think that a lot of that is lost in investing. When you do any kind of investment, your numbers have to be tight. You have to know them kind of backwards and forwards, because that extra piece of the difference between granite and travertine is huge.
Yep. You have to know, I wrote some notes because I'm like, I want to make sure I underscore all of this. You really have to know your numbers. And for me, the numbers that are most important generally are the ARV, so the after repair value of a property, whether you're going to flip it or hold on to it. And I'll get into that later, but to know what the potential is for this property. So to find that number, you need several things. But you also have to have a really good understanding of that particular market or neighborhood or wherever you are to really be able to kind of project what that can be, right? You also have to have a good grasp on ROI. So I'm going to drop all these fun acronyms, but you want to know that, consistently you're getting whatever you set for yourself, whatever makes sense for you, but set. Sorry.
We're all at home. It's okay.
This is just a short break, because I do want to expound on what Jessica was saying. She was talking about ROI, which is return on investment. So it is really critical that people know what return they want to get. And as she was talking about, you do need to know the market around you, comparables, things that are in that neighborhood. What are the averages that homes are going for in that neighborhood? Because you need to know what that return on investment will be.
Exactly. And we, of course we like better than, but we stay around like maybe a 30% return. That's good. That's healthy. It feels like that's that's what we base will look for. Anything below that, I mean, you can sort of factor it out and figure out if it's still something you're interested in. There might be other, I don't know. They say not to become like personally, attached to any property, right?
It's hard sometimes, though. It's hard.
I'm selling that house next to my parents, and he's looking to sell, and it's like, okay, maybe it's not the return I like, but emotionally, for whatever reason, call it a pet project. but you definitely like give yourself one of those a year. Like everything else has to be above board and where you need it to be. The other thing you mentioned, Nasia, are comps. So you have to have a good system for running comps for yourself, and you have to have accurate information for that, and you have to have that information at your fingertips. So I do know some wholesalers out there who are newer to the game, and they've got a good friend who's an agent who has access to the MLS and run these numbers. It'll work a couple go rounds, but I'm telling you, like, I'm running numbers several times a day on several properties. Nobody's that much of a friend. Okay. So have a system. And one that we use, which I would recommend, I think it's most investors use it or have heard of it, is PropStream. So it's fed information from the MLS, but it has a few little twists and tweaks that are specific to investing. I think it's like $99 a month, but it really gives you comps. It gives you information on the owner, on the status of the mortgage, all the details and specifics of the property, square footage, bedrooms, baths, that kind of thing. In some cases, pictures. So it really has a lot in sort of one place, and you can use it on your desktop, and it's also an app. I get nothing from PropStream, I swear to you, but I maybe should start doing that. But
they don't have a referral link.
Right. So, but it's been my go-to. There are a couple others out there. Nothing wrong with them. That's just kind of been my fail-safe PropStream.
Awesome.
And then I'd say the other two things as far as numbers would be to understand, especially when, and we'll talk about them, I know you want to, Nasia, but when you talk about buy and holds and becoming a landlord and renting property, you got to understand market rent in that area too. So it goes beyond just knowing the market for the property itself, but then, what should you be getting in rent? Is there room to kind of reposition and raise rents, maybe after some little rehab touches and things? But in any event, knowing your market rent. And then the other numbers that are really important are your numbers for your projected or estimated repair costs. So if you're doing a flip, or even if you're buying a property that you're going to be landlording, what has to be fixed? When does it have to be fixed? And what are the costs going to be around that? So all of that goes into figuring out if something's a deal.
Okay, so now that everybody's absorbed that, I have to do. I think let's go back to the beginning for one thing, and that one thing is I really want to be very clear about this because we get this all the time. Okay. How much money do I need in order to become an investor?
Okay. My personal story is that I kind of just jumped, like Steve Harvey is known for saying, right? I just jumped out of a long time career as a nonprofit executive into real estate investing with no background, no education, and essentially no money. I mean, very little money to put into any kind of business. But I had a lot of skills. I had a lot of transferable skills, and I had a very strong network, and I had great mentors. So I would say more than money is to have those things in order before you start. And that those things essentially take no money to build, right? And to create. So I'm getting to my point of you need very little or maybe next to nothing to start. The wholesaling, you can use PropStream free for 7 days. But you can also, we'll talk about this. You can also JV with more experienced wholesalers. You can start out, I've got a young guy right now who's bird dogging for us, but he wants to get into this. But so his work of bird dogging, which is searching for potential properties, investment properties, that's helping build his skill set, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess my whole point is truly you need zero money to get in. Would it make it maybe a more comfortable journey if you had a lot of capital? Right. I mean, of course. But, you know, we really did things kind of by, you know, bootstrap, right? So there's value in that you really learn, you know,
Right.
and you have to think and structure things very creatively. And that's a skill that will serve you immensely as you go on. So I would say you need nothing. If you come in and you have something, great. But sometimes people want to get into this. They have the capital, but they don't even know how to kind of make that jump. So again,
Right.
that's where partnering with someone who maybe is already doing it, you know, can help you kind of get started. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so you kind of like led us to the next thing. So you mentioned JV.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's joint venture. And that would be essentially an agreement that you would have. You can do it really with a lot of different projects. So, for example, I joint venture or I JV with some of my wholesales. We also have a joint venture going with an acquisition that we're doing that will be a buy and hold. So it's basically you partnering with another person or entity to complete a project. If it's a wholesale, it's a wholesale. If it's you know, a buy and hold or a flip, then it's that. So my JV wholesales right now, those that I'm doing, just happen to be with several people newer to wholesaling. So the beauty of it is, I guess there's beauty on both sides. So they found the property, they got the property under contract, and they're sort of the conduit to the seller. I'm a bit more established, so what they don't have, I have, and kind of vice versa. So I have a pretty robust buyers list. So I have the folks that will probably become the end buyer in the deal. I also do, you know, we've kind of elevated and we do elevated kinds of marketing. We have a website. We have all of these things that, you know, we've been in business a year. It's taken us some time to get to all of these things, but a new wholesaler wouldn't necessarily have that starting out. But if you align with someone who does, you get your deals done hopefully quicker. You learn along the way because you get sort of a built-in mentor, right, in the process. And then you can kind of replicate that and go on to the next one. But I highly recommend it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to kind of begin and start. And although you do have responsibilities and you do have equity in the game, you still have somebody that you can go to and say, okay, this doesn't seem right. Does it seem like this? I need to do it. And they already know that you're newer to the game. So you're going to have to, you know, kind of follow their lead a little bit more. But
It's a good learning place.
right, it's just a good learning place. And I think that's really important to have some sort of mentorship in investing instead of kind of just sometimes it's taking that leap of faith, but it's doing it in a way that's very strategic.
Yep.
So I think that's really important. So I did want to talk a little bit about that mentorship piece. And I know everybody will ask you, well, then how did you start? How did you know it was right for you? How did you know that investing was something that you wanted to do or even that you were good at? And I think a lot of people have that hesitation. I'm interested. It sounds great, but how do I know for sure that this is for me?
Yeah, I don't know if I have the answer to that because I feel like everyone sort of needs to soul search and find it. But what I can say is, I mean, there was really nothing that clearly told me that this would be for me, that I would even enjoy it or that I would be good at it. But I did a lot of work transitioning out of my, you know, more secure career track into my own business and into real estate investing. I did a lot of work in that transition and even after that on just really fortifying my mindset. right? So I did a lot of reading of other real estate investors, tips and tricks and tools and all of that. But I also just did, I mean, I spiritually, for me, things that would kind of like elevate my, not to sound woo woo, but elevate my, you know, put me on a higher frequency, just be so fueled with positivity that it was almost one of these like, what wouldn't I do to succeed? And that's how I've just kind of steamrolled into the whole thing. And it's worked very well. And I had a really, really wise mentor years ago, good friend now, who told me at the time when I was launching another business years ago, she said, you know, and I said, who am I to do this? Like, I don't know anything about this or that or whatever it was that I was worried about. And she said, you know, you have to just act as if, and, you know, and magically you'll be surprised. She promised me, and I was like, what? So I'm just going to go into this room and like pitch my idea and act as if I'm a business already, you know? And she was like, never say like, you're the sole person. If that's the case, like act as if you have this like whole enterprise behind you, you know, and just, you know, kind of get out in front of it. And that's what I would tell people. I mean, definitely get some of these things in place, like a mentor, maybe being with someone, doing some reading, getting up your knowledge. But at the same time, it doesn't serve anyone, right? To you know, to live small or to feel defeated before you even start. I mean, literally, what's the worst that can happen? What if you bomb? Then you bomb. You know what I mean? But I also believe really strongly that every single failure, and I've had many in this, I've had many, every single failure has been one step closer to a win for us. And I look back at them almost like with love, like, thank you so much for being a failure for me at that time, because I wouldn't be where I am now. And so it's getting your mind, I think, you know, focused on success and feeling empowered that you can do it.
Absolutely.
But that network of people and that mentor are going to be the people who hold you up when and if your mindset dips, you know, because you'll have those moments. But if there's someone there to like kind of boost you up and say, you've got this, you know, you can turn it around, or, you know, this isn't the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of, you know, humankind, you'll be fine, kind of thing, dust yourself off. That's very hard to find when you work in a silo and on an island.
Absolutely.
Right? So you two know, being partners, you know, the benefit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I told somebody thank God for Nasia the other day, because I'm a little bit of a loose cannon sometimes. And so she has to like, my computer, I like it. So she has to reel me in. You know, don't send that, send this. Like, take a beat. So that's part of it. So but yeah, I like what you said. Like, it is, you know, we're with Keller Williams, and we talk so much about mindset and how important mindset is. And what you said about failure, you know, we have this whole phrase about failing forward. Like, you're going to fail, but, you know, that's only, you know, going to help you recalibrate and move forward to the next thing. Like, that didn't work. So, okay, what did I learn from that? And how can this propel me forward? So those are all just very important. The mentor, like, again, our mentors and coaches have been so important to our business and the growth of our business. So do you have a coach or as well, or do you have like a mentor coach relationship?
I don't have a coach. Our situation was a little unique. So my fiance, who is also my business partner, is my mentor, or has been my mentor. Like, so he actually has years, like 15 plus years as a licensed agent. He also did BPOs, and he did all kinds of things in the real estate world. That was his career. But toward the last few years, when he was an active agent, this was in another state, he was working mostly with investors. And so he was running their numbers and putting their deals together and structuring it all. And after a little while, he was like, why am I not doing this for myself? I mean, you know, if they look to me like I'm the expert who can get this done for them, why am I not, you know, doing this for myself? Certainly it would be more lucrative and I would have the freedom to kind of do that. So he always had a mind to kind of do this. And he was in my ear for quite a while and convinced me that, you know, not only could I do this, but I would do really well. And yeah, so he's been definitely definitely a huge value to what we've been able to achieve.
So kind of building on that, I know we have talked offline about things that are really important to have in your corner. And I think one of the things is, who do you need as part of your team? And that doesn't mean people who are employed with you.
Yeah.
That just means who are part of your team. Who do you work with usually as investors? We're talking about, do you need a great attorney on your side? Do you need a great realtor on your side? Of course you do.
A contractor, like who's your inspector? Like
who are your part of your team? Who's part of your team that you need definitely? If you're going to start this, this is absolute minimum.
Yeah, you basically named them all. So attorney, well, I shouldn't say attorney first and foremost. We'll say an agent first and foremost, because the most important. No, definitely have an agent in your corner and on call. Primarily, even with buy and holds, but primarily with your fix and flips, so that you can get them listed right away and sold right away. That's the whole goal. Holding costs are no joke, so the sooner I can get sold, the better. But an agent, a competent real estate attorney who is investing and wholesale friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Not just
There's
friendly.
Different.
Savvy. Yeah, savvy and both. And there is definitely a difference. I think we spoke offline about this, but we have a terrific attorney. I think every time I talk to someone, I praise his name, but he has gotten us out of things in a way that, you know, looking back now kind of blows my mind, but he's either, you know, saved us time or saved us money or saved us heartache, whatever it is. But he also, one thing I find kind of humorous is I notice in a lot of deals that we do, he ends up kind of educating the other attorney on the other side. Like, all right, like, this is how I understand, like, maybe this is new to you, but this is how, you know, we're going to do it and how it works and that kind of thing. So he's invaluable. You mentioned an inspector. Absolutely. And you mentioned a contractor. Yes. And I feel like there was one other thing you mentioned. Oh, I think one thing you didn't mention was a stager. So if you're doing flips, or even if you're rehabbing apartments that you're going to rent, just being able to kind of stage them, you know, in a way that's professional and you know, attractive to potential renters or buyers, that's really important too. What we are working to do at Evolution Enterprises is to have a lot of those components within our own company. So a contracting arm, a brokerage, and so on and so forth. I know. So we hadn't started out thinking like that, but I think the more you run the numbers and you do these deals, you start to say, where can I trim the fat, basically? Like, how can I make this an even better deal? How can we get an even better return? Or how can I make it better for us so I can make it better for the seller? You know, we talk to a lot of people who are going through some stuff. You know, it takes chaos in life for people to be at a point where they will sell and sell below the value, you know, what their home could be, kind of thing. So, you know, we really always want to do well by them, just like we do with, you know, the end buyer for that situation. So the more we can kind of take on those roles within our company, the better return there is, I guess, for everyone. So those are definitely the key people to have.
And you kind of talked about the attorney, but how do you vet those other people? Like, how do you vet kind of the realtor? How do you vet your inspector, especially the contractor? Like, I feel like that's such the key person in this, because they're the kind of people evaluating what, kind of like what the repairs are going to be and what that cost is. So how do you evaluate those people and vet them?
Well, the way that we've done that is we basically have a form process that we follow, but it involves face-to-face, interview basically of the person, references. You want to make sure that they have a good, history working with other people. We require, proof of their insurance or any licenses and things like that. And we gather all of that and have it on file and keep it on file in the event that we move to work with that person down the road. So we try to do a lot of that up front. It's sort of like a constant, undercurrent that's going on with everything else is, okay, I've got a couple of interviews this week, because you always want to keep, you always want to, you want to have kind of a little, you want to have a selection to choose from. You don't want to ever be, back
one
against
person.
the wall. Exactly. And you want to be able to say, I liked all three of these people. Let me throw this out and get quotes from three. You don't ever just want to kind of go with one person. But the one thing we've done a lot of too is just educated ourselves and gotten to the point where on a certain level, we can do a pretty good job estimating repair costs. So that's something to kind of like work toward, but that will help as well. But we do have contractors that we will call in and say, hey, I'm going to go walk through a property. Can you come with? Because I think there's, some foundation or structural things, and, it's just over my head, but the rest of it I can kind of assess, but I need a little, some expertise. Attention. Yeah. So.
That is awesome. So let's see it. Do you have another question?
I do have a question. So I think we've gone through a lot already. So I think this is a good foundation. If you can give us like 3 to 5 kind of tips that you would give to first-time investors, things you wish you had known before you started it. And I know that we also had a question, and I know I'm kind of throwing it in there as well, as if there are any resources that you would recommend, like books that will kind of get people on the right foot that they can start off with.
Sure. And as far as resources, I'm more than happy offline to kind of give you some others if you want to include them with us. But the five tips I would say, we already talked about one of them. Well, we talked about a few of them. So my first tip really honestly was about, something you need to know is you need to know yourself. You need to know your comfortability with risk. You need to know, that you're going to be able to kind of ride this roller coaster. And you need to know that, failure is not a negative, that everything is possible and everything is happening as it should be. The one thing about real estate investing that I've found is that no 2 days are alike. Nothing is generally straightforward, even when it seems like it's straightforward. So, just having a tolerance for the ups and downs and highs and lows and the stops and starts. So I think different from a traditional home buyer, where you kind of have an idea of how long the process will take and what has to happen. Acquisitions in real estate investment can happen really quickly, or they can take some time. So just kind of understanding that and having that tolerance. We talked about knowing your numbers game with after repair values, return on investment, comps, the market rents, those kinds of things. The other thing I think is really important to know, we touched on it, is get to know other investors and don't be afraid to. And I wish I would have known that a little bit more. I'm not a shy person anyways. I think you two know that about me, but I was pretty shy starting out because I thought, like, who am I? Like, I don't know anything. I don't have the like jargon. How am I going to talk to them about everything? I don't even have a property under my belt. I've never wholesaled. Like, what am I going to bring to the table, you know, in that kind of conversation? But I have found almost throughout the entire process that other investors are generally that people want to be very collaborative. They're very helpful. And it's all about relationships. You guys know this in real estate. So, you know, who you know today, you know, may be someone that you need tomorrow, you know, or who you meet today, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, and where I am today could look very different from where I am in a year. So it's important to kind of start building those relationships so that when the time is right, you sort of already have the inroads made. But get to know other investors and ask questions, even if they seem like, you know, ridiculous questions. Everyone had to start somewhere, right? Everyone had to start somewhere. And I actually love getting questions from new investors. I love that. And I think because I wish I would have asked more questions starting out. But definitely get to know other investors. And the ways to do that I found really helpful is to join a RIA in your area. So a RIA, all these acronyms, I know, right? So the RIA is Real Estate Investor Association.
Yeah.
I always recommend those to everyone. We have a really strong one in our area, and someone asked me investor questions. I'm like, that's not my level of expertise, but I tell you what you need to do.
Exactly.
Join South Atlanta RIA. Like, go to the meeting. I said it to someone today, in fact. So absolutely.
It's a huge, I mean, right now they're probably all virtual, but it's a huge group of investors and or vendors that would, you know, connect to real estate investing, just going at it, networking in a room. And it's like, you know, you'll feel like you're home, you know what I mean? Because most of the time you're behind your own computer, or you're out in the field or whatever you're doing, but to come around a bunch of people who are really like-minded doing the same thing, it's brilliant. There are meetup groups for real estate investing in a lot of areas. We run one here. There's Bigger Pockets, which you all probably heard of. Amazing. Go on. It's like a whole online world and community around investing, and a lot of questions.
And they have a podcast, right?
And they have a podcast.
Yeah.
Start listening to them. That'll propel you forward. And just always, you know, as they say, don't ever be the smartest person in the room. You know, like seek out those opportunities and those circles where you're going to be forced to kind of stretch and grow and learn. And you will, absolutely. We talked about your team. So that was I'm up to number 4. And then number 5, what you need to know is what your niche is going to be in real estate. And sometimes you don't know that right away or up front. You have to try a couple things to kind of see what sticks. But that could be anything from wholesaling, which we talked about, buying and holding property as a landlord, buying and holding property, doing short-term rentals like Airbnb and VRBO and all of that. That's huge. Fix and flipping, so rehabbing and then selling a property. And then there's also, you know, we haven't even talked about it, but there's land development and new construction. And that's a whole other arm of investing. So there's a lot of layers to it, but getting to kind of know what feels right to you, what fits for you, and your goals. That's really, really important.
And that's a big like advantage to the RIAs and the meetup groups is like you get to see all of the possible areas that you could go into as an investor. Because I just learned about the land thing maybe earlier this year. I went to a RIA and that was the main topic about land.
Yeah.
And I was like, I never even thought about that. And that's so huge now because fix and flips are getting the numbers are getting a little tight for a lot of people. So they're really land is like the thing. So
We haven't even talked about commercial space,
Yep.
because there are people who will buy entire strip malls with tenants already in place. So there are so many different areas, and one might not be suitable for you, but one might be exactly what you need. And so I think exactly what you're talking about, Jessica, your story fits to a T what a lot of people are doing. I mean, most people, you didn't go to school for this. You didn't, get your MBA in real estate investing. So
I think all of us on this call, like none of us 25 years ago
right,
to be here.
right.
No,
But it's something you
so
love.
glad we are. So glad we are.
Yes.
Well, and I just have to say, just segue, I am such like a fan of the two of you. I've kind of watched Amazon like take shape, and I was just like, when I knew the two of you were coming together, I was just like, ah. So I'm that, stalker and lurker, just like liking every post and commenting. But I love what you have going. Absolutely love it. So kudos.
Thank you. Yeah, and we saw you were like getting into real estate. I was like, oh my God, so exciting.
And I just want to
I'm
tell.
like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, I hope they don't ask me anything. I won't know what's happening. But
and people don't know, but we have known each other for over 20 years. So it's been a long kind of journey, and we might not look it, but we've known each other for over 20 years.
Yes, Melanin, thank you.
For everyone else out there that doesn't know, we look better than we did 20 years ago, just so you know. Coming to our own, ladies.
Yes, I love
but
it.
I am so excited to, connect with both of you on this topic and in this industry. I think that in a lot of ways, and Nasia, you and I were talking about it just before we started, but, representation matters. And I think one of the things, if I'll be honest, when I was getting started is, I myself, if you told me to, come up with an image of a real estate investor, I don't think I would have painted it to look anything like me,
Right.
Or have the background that I have. But there is room. There's definitely room into this. I came out of nonprofit, right? I couldn't be in something more for-profit at this point, but
in government, so yeah.
It as a single mom, I mean, even having very risen in the ranks and being at the top of these organizations, like it's still. I mean, I'm in New York State, so tax and all of that looks probably very different from other places, but. It's very hard to really do much around building wealth and building something that, I could pass on to my child or children or what have you. And this is something that really can do that for people. And you can absolutely do it full time like I am, but you can do it part time and on the side. I think a couple of younger wholesalers I was talking about, they're in school and they're just wholesaling on the side. So it's doable. And it's a great way for, side money, extra money, or, you can jump out there and be doing it full time. So I would encourage anyone.
Right.
That is awesome. Like I said, I had this discussion with another agent today. We had an open house and she's like, she really wants to work with investors. She really wants to be an investor. And I shared something that our CEO shared at our, kind of like our company conference last year. And he really, a lot of companies don't really address the investor, like in a real estate company, they don't think of you as an investor. They don't embrace that, but he really does. And he says, all of real estate, like homes, they flow through us, like they flow through real estate agents first. So we should be in a position where before we list a house, do I want to buy this house first? Before I even listed. He was like, that's how we need to kind of change our perception. And I was like, and a lot of us, we're so busy selling houses, but not like that part of the wealth building.
Yes.
Even as real estate agents, we're not concentrating on it. So I thought that's not something most people traditional real estate companies talk about.
Exactly.
And I thought that was really important. I like that type of thinking. That's something we're starting to think a little bit more about as well.
I hope you are. I mean, you're kind of speaking to my fiance's experience and what got him into doing this alone. I hope you are thinking like that. And I'm almost kind of, having had no background at all in real estate, it's sort of, I don't know, kind of irks me if an agent isn't thinking, if they're not like, like both, you're sort of missing out, and you have keys to the city, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, you're right in the mix. And if you're doing flips, my God, you're going to be your own listing agent. Like, you're just, there's huge opportunity. But I think you're right. I think they're like, we're almost like the dirty word in real estate sometimes,
And I was like, it's not like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm glad to hear that about your company.
What I really like is that we're talking about this in this session, and we are going to put down, so don't be worried about it. We'll let you know how you can get in contact with Jessica. I know already people are thinking, okay, I have this question. We'll put down all of Jessica's kind of contact information, how you can get in touch with her. And even if you're not in the same state, even if you're not in New York, Jessica has the insight. So she will be willing to talk to you. And depending on what you want to do, there is no reason for there to be barriers just by geography. So, and
you guys do have like a coaching arm, correct, Jessica? You guys have a coaching arm as well?
We do. So what we started out doing, Kristen, early on, was offering workshops every month that kind of focused on and built sort of a different skill for investors. And we sort of did it somewhat selfishly because we were like, well, we need to learn too. And, I'll and, they're training us while other people are getting trained. So we did things like the art of cold calling. We had like the legal 411 in real estate investing. We had our attorney do a great job with that. But we started out doing that. And then as we met people at these workshops, funny enough, they were approaching me to say, will you mentor me, or will you? Like, I guess, like, you can learn along with me, sure. But so we did kind of adapt and quickly kind of set up a system and to do coaching. So if people are looking for one-on-one coaching, we do offer that. We do, like I said, we have the meetup group, and that's all virtual now. And that's basically like a mastermind for investors. You don't have to be in New York for that. You can join our meetup and get on the virtual meetings. And it's, again, just a great way to get questions answered, hear what other people are doing, and meet other investors. So I would definitely encourage people to reach out in those ways. I'll put you right into those things and, get you going with that. The other thing I wanted to offer is that something we're moving into is thinking about this idea, which we didn't even talk about, but virtual wholesaling. So right now we wholesale really only in our own region or regions. We basically do New York and some Mass, just because my fiance has roots there. So, but for the most part, we're in New York. But people wholesale virtually across the country. And, we're obviously, we found that we have, developed kind of a formula, an approach, a system that works. We know how to find the properties. We know how to build our buyers list. We know basically how to put it all together. What's stopping us, or what limit should there be to us, expanding and do wholesales elsewhere? And the thought I have around starting that would be simply to JV with someone in that other location.
Absolutely.
Sort of have a boots on the ground kind of thing. But like my other JVs, you've got kind of the wealth of, some experience that we have and some of the tools and things that we already have in place. We would be able to utilize all of that. So that's my thinking. So if there are people out there who want to get started in wholesaling or have a property already identified or under contract and they're just stuck and they don't know what to do, please reach out. More than happy to help with that and move things along.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. I was like, where did Sia go? Okay. Yeah. I love the pop in and out thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to give Jessica more of a spotlight. That's why.
Well, you need to tell me that so I could have gone off too.
Sorry about that. So what we're going to do now is I think that we've received all the information that we can right now. This has been the fastest and most efficient tutorial that we could possibly ask for real estate investing. And I even learned a couple of things just by listening to you that I didn't know before. So we're constantly in that learning phase. And I'm just going to tell everybody who's listening in our audience, please, please, please don't be afraid to ask questions. Please take some of the resources that Jessica is talking about. And if you do have a question, you're really interested in doing something, you've got a deal that you're not really sure about, contact her and, reach out and be able to get that coaching, that mentorship that you might need to get it further along in this particular industry. So I know all my questions are answered. Kristen?
I'm good. Like, this has been like so great. I think just knowing like this is such a hot thing, like the real estate investing. You have so many people wanting to do it, wanting to just like jump in. But I think a lot of people aren't doing like the numbers thing. They're not evaluating deals. They just kind of get approved for like a line of credit or have this relationship, and they're not taking all the steps that they need to take. And I feel this is like a very risky, kind of thing. You can not waste, but you can lose a lot of money. Like you mentioned holding costs briefly. If you're getting hard money loans and holding costs, and you don't do the market research, you don't know what the comps are, you're over repairing or over improving the property and not knowing the comps and, overpricing when you put it back on the market. These are things that could cost you a lot of money. Not having that reliable contractor, not doing your due diligence when it comes to that, you could lose a lot of money. Because I've had a thing with a seasoned investor, who like very seasoned investor, where he has like a whole kind of coaching program that's replicated all over, and he had to hold on to a property for 8 months. Yeah, and he was like, that, and it was a JV. He had like a lot of people involved in the deal. He's like, we thought this property would be gone. Like we had a budget like 4 months. And he's like, something happened. We had a problem with the contractor. 8 months later, here we are. So you have to be, knowledgeable and kind of do your due diligence, do your research. So you gave everyone some very good tips on all the areas that they need to really do their homework in before you leave. You're still going to learn things and have questions along the way. Yes. But do as much as you can up front.
Yeah. If anyone listening, if you just do one of the things I mentioned, and focus on that and get started there, like you're going to be so well served. Sometimes anything you get into, right, you're just kind of like all over the place with it because there's so much, or it's so overwhelming. Just focus on one of those things, whatever it is. Start reading or go to a RIA, or just, do one thing and kind of build from there. And before you know it, I'm telling you, you both know, I have not been in business long, so it can happen very quickly. So definitely, start your foundation steps now. It will take off.
All right.
So, awesome.
This is going to be it for us. This is going to be the closing for this particular session, but please join us because we have these sessions all the time on a variety of topics. And so on behalf of Les Maison Partners, I say good night, and we really want to thank Jessica for being with us.
Yes, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.